Hey there YouTubers, and welcome to my 9th YouTube video in which I'll finally be showing you guys my complete and up-to-date Sega Genesis game collection. I know I showed you guys last week my Super Nintendo game collection or my Super Famicom game collection if you live in Japan, but for today's video I'll be showing you my complete and up-to-date Sega Genesis, or if you live in Japan, Sega Mega Drive game collecting. So, first game I got here is one of the best Sega Genesis games basically ever created, Sonic the Hedgehog. And this is the original one that was released in 1991 for the Sega Genesis. Now, a lot of people, by the way, this is a great game, as you know, most people probably should know by now. See, the thing with Sonic the Hedgehog is that a lot of people think that, you know, this game was a launch title with the Sega Genesis, which isn't really that, which is you know, pretty understandable considering the fact that, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog is, you know, still to this day, you know, the mascot for Sega of America and Sega of Japan. But this game was actually not a launch title. This was eventually packaged with the Sega Genesis, but the original packaged in game was Altered Beast, which I'll get to in a minute. But a lot of people think this is a launch title for the Sega Genesis, but it actually isn't, because the Sega Genesis came out in 1989 and was actually meant to compete with the Nintendo Entertainment System. But, you know, obviously when the Super Nintendo came out, it was not as good, because, you know, technologically speaking, the Super Nintendo was, you know, it was a lot superior. So yeah, that's the first game I got. Second game is probably the game that made me want the system in the first place. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this, but right now I have 11 Sega Genesis games in my collection, so, you know, obviously not as much as my Super Nintendo collection, so this video is going to be, you know, a lot shorter than my previous video, so just to, you know, warn you ahead of time. But anyways, this is probably the game that made me want the system in the first place, and that's the sequel, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Now, what's cool about this game is that it was the first game that featured Sonic's sidekick, if you can see him over there. Oh yeah, I got it on it, sorry, because I just count myself. But this featured the character Tails, or Miles per hour, which, you know, if you really think of it, is sort of like a pun on miles per hour. I mean, I don't know, I just weird observation, but yeah, this is a great game, and it's definitely a worthy sequel to the original one. You know, like, there are so many different ways you can complete the levels in this game, unlike the original one where, you know, it was pretty easy. Yeah, this is a really hard game, though. I haven't really gotten that far in it, but yeah, great game. Great game nonetheless. Alright, so the third game we got up here, you can probably guess, is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Because, you know, I have the first and second one, why not have the third one? Yeah, this game is pretty good. I enjoyed it, but I would say that the first and second one is better. See, the thing that I really hate about this game, and a lot of people probably feel the same way too, is the water levels in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. I mean, those levels just piss me off the most, just because, you know, I hate it when the music, like, gets really fast and it's like, and then and then eventually he drowns in it, but you know, drowns in the water. But still a great game, definitely a classic. But Yeah, I enjoyed the second one a lot more, and the first one. But I would say my favorite Sonic the Hedgehog game is definitely the first one. But yeah, still great game, great game. All right, and next game that I have here is, and by the way, this is a game that when I bought the Sega Genesis, I had the Model 2 Sega Genesis that was made in North America, and I got it at Sudden Impact, which I probably mentioned to you guys in my previous video showing my Super Nintendo game collection that Sudden Impact is a retro video game store in Winthrop, Massachusetts. So definitely check that store out. I highly recommend it if you're into retro games. But anyways, this is the game that was bundled with the system, and that's Vector Man. Unfortunately, it didn't come in the box like most of my Sega Genesis games, and a lot of my Super Nintendo games are boxed too. Even though I just showed loose copies of them, but I didn't really want to go through the time to put them in the boxes. But anyways, this is pretty good game. It's a side-scrolling platformer with this character Vector Man. I kind of feel bad for this character, honestly, because I mean, it's a really great game, and in fact, I think there was a sequel to this as well, Vector Man 2. But yeah, for some reason, this series just hasn't really caught on for some reason, which is really unfortunate because it's a really fun game. But yeah, basically you go around fighting robots as enemies and dodging projectiles. It's a pretty fun little adventure game. I would definitely get it. And the next game that I have, which I forgot to mention, is I sort of like to think of this game as Sonic the Hedgehog 4, even though it really isn't, but it's an extension to the third game, and it's the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge that was released in, I think, 1994, if I believe. Yeah, this is, again, another really, really great game. In fact, this is actually the only lock-on cartridge that I know of that was actually made legally. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like, there were a lot of video games for certain consoles, like, the SNES, for instance, like, Super Noah's Ark 3D, which you need to have another game on it just to make it work, because it was made illegally. But yeah, what this is a continuation of the third Sonic the Hedgehog game, and the really cool thing about this is that you can actually plug in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I believe, and you can play as Knuckles in the second game if you use this. And in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, you can't use it for Sonic the Hedgehog 1, the original, for some reason, but you are treated to this Blue Sphere minigame if you hook it up to it. But still pretty cool option to have. I've never actually tried it. I have tried using this with the second game, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, but never the first. But yeah, this is a really good game. I would highly recommend it, especially if you want all the I mean, maybe not all. I mean, there are definitely more Sonic games on the Genesis, but if you want the complete series, basically, then definitely get that game as well. All right, so next game I got here is, and keep in mind there are a lot. I know I'm showing you guys mostly platformers on the Sega Genesis, and that's the thing. I mean, there are a lot of platformers on the system, as well as the Super Nintendo, of course. And here's another one called Kid Chameleon for the Sega Genesis. Now, this game is pretty good. It's certainly not one of my favorite platforming games for the system. Basically, what this is I think it's like there's some video game wizard who goes to the arcade. No, you're not Lucas from The Wizard, but yeah, it's pretty cool. You can get power ups and like switch different costumes. Like I know there's a rhino costume that allows you to, if you're going at a fast enough speed, to like plummet through walls and stuff. But yeah, the controls are pretty slippery in this game. I think I got this game on Amazon.com. But yeah, I mean it's a decent platforming game. It's I would recommend it. Hey, it has over 100 levels, so I mean you can't go wrong with that. But yeah, it's okay. All right, so 1 sec. Okay, yeah, the next game that I have is another game that I got at Sudden Impact when I bought the system, and that's Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat, made by Arena. Right, Arena. Yeah, all right. Oh, pardon me. Now, yeah, the original game for the Sega Genesis. Unfortunately, I don't have this game for the Super Nintendo, but I've actually heard that this version of the game is a lot better, just for the fact that it has blood in it. Whereas if you get the original one for the Super Nintendo, they actually altered out the blood. So I mean, I don't know why they did that. Maybe they wanted to make it more kid friendly. But yeah, this is a really good game. The music is a little bit annoying. I mean, I personally like the music on a lot of Super Nintendo games better than the Sega Genesis. But yeah, a pretty good game. A lot of fighting games I really don't enjoy on the Sega Genesis. But this is still a very good game. I would definitely recommend it. Alright, and so the next game that I have is the sequel, Mortal Kombat 2. Now, this is a pretty good sequel. I really enjoyed this game. There are a lot more characters in this version of the game, which is really nice. And yeah, great graphics, good mood, better mood. The music is a lot better in the second one. As you can probably imagine, this was made by Acclaim Entertainment, as you can see right there. But yeah, really great game, and again, it has blood to it. So, and see, that's the thing with a lot of Sega Genesis games, and I think when Sega was at the was at its peak, they were really good at pursuing people that the Sega Genesis, because they really wanted to target it as a more adult console, if you will, whereas they were trying to make Nintendo seem like it was for little kiddies, which isn't necessarily true, but I would say there are a lot more adult oriented games on the Sega Genesis. Now obviously the graphics in these kind of games, when you see the blood and stuff, and like the fatalities of people falling in spikes, and I think you can also like pull someone's like skull out and their spinal cord will attach to it. It's like really nasty. But back then, like if this would actually be a really big deal for like little kids to be playing. Obviously now it would be laughable. Like when you compare it to other video games like Mortal Kombat X, I think just came out for the PS4 and Xbox One, and Grand Theft Auto. But yeah, really good game. I enjoyed it a lot. And the next game that I have for the Sega Genesis, you probably can guess, it's the last Mortal Kombat game on the system, Mortal Kombat 3, made by Williams Entertainment, which was actually the same company that made Doom. That I think I mentioned that last week in my SNES video, that Williams Entertainment made Doom, which was also rated M, as you can see right here. And that's the other thing about Mortal Kombat 2, is that I think this was actually the game, not this game in particular, but the first one was the game that started the rating system, like M, E plus, E for everyone, 10 and over, of course. But yeah, this is a really good game. I really like the second one the best. I feel like that one's more solid. The controls in this game are really good, but yeah, the graphics they're a little choppy, but yeah, great game. Again, I haven't really played that much of this game. To be quite honest with you, I'm not really good at fighting games in general, but yeah, it's still a very good game. Okay, so the next game that I have to show you guys is probably one of the best puzzle games on the system, and this was a launch title for the Sega Genesis, in case you were wondering, and that's Columns for the Sega Genesis. I have the Sega Classic box that came with it. Yeah, this is a really, really addicting game. I absolutely love this. Basically, what this is Sega's version of Tetris. Obviously, Tetris was released for the Game Boy back when that was released in 1989. But yeah, really, really good game. It does get progressively harder as you reach the top, and it's sort of like Tetris Attack in a way. Like if you reach the top without matching up any of the gems, I guess they are. I mean, they look like gems. Then you automatically lose. This is a really good two-player game. Like if you want to play against your friend and just go at it, play comms together. This is a really good game for that sort of thing. So yeah, this is a really great game. I would definitely recommend it. All right, so that's that game, and now for my last game is the game that was originally bundled with the Sega Genesis when it first came out, and that's Altered Beast, which, if you know a lot about the series, this was actually originally an arcade port, and that's the other thing about Sega too, is that they had a really good reputation for making great arcade ports of games, like obviously Altered Beast, Golden Axe. The Golden Axe series I've heard is very good. Unfortunately, I don't own any of those games, but I'm saving up for them right now. But yeah, this is a really great game. It's basically, I think it's some it's hard to describe, like some medieval sort of game. It's a brawler. I think it's a brawler where you're a wolf and you can throw projectiles. Basically, I think you have to save. The goal of this game is to save Zeus's daughter from some evil force. The really cool thing about this game, though, is that it's 2 players, which is nice. It's always nice to play with your friends. But yeah, the graphics in this game are really good. Controls are pretty decent. So yeah, great game. This is a really good game for to be bundled in with the system. So yeah, that concludes my Sega Genesis game collection. Now, I am planning on getting a lot more games for the system. I mean, it is a great system. And, obviously I don't have nearly as many Sega Genesis games as I do Super Nintendo games. Super Nintendo really is my favorite console, though, so I mean, that's kind of what you have to expect in a way. But, yeah, both systems are really great. Yeah, these were both made during, the 16-bit war, probably the most famous console war of all time, to be honest with you. But yeah, this concludes my Sega Genesis video, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. And don't forget to like this video if you did. Subscribe, comment below if you have any games that you want to recommend to me, or if you want me to recommend any games to you. I mean, I know the system very well, and I've had it for more than 2 years now. So yeah, hit me up in the comments below, and I'll see you next week, where I'll be showing you guys my complete and up-to-date Game Boy collection. The original Game Boy that was made in black and white. So that concludes this video. Talk to you guys sometime again.